Well, hello there. Thanks for joining me. Wow, time kind of got away from me. I thought I had about 5 minutes and then it was down to like 10 seconds. Oh my gosh. But welcome to our studio chat. This week is our Whirlwind membership experience. And we've done a technique walkthrough on Monday, yesterday, Tuesday, we did the painting night live. I did some variations of our technique of the week, the funnel pour. And then tonight we're doing our studio chat. And the studio chat is all about different topics related to paint pouring, not necessarily related to our technique that we're working on that week, but more often than not, broader topics covering different aspects of acrylic paint pouring. And I'm going to talk about two very important and related things tonight that I think you might find very interesting. Most people don't talk about this at all, I've found, but I think they're very important. I think about these things all the time. I think they're very critical to developing and growing as an artist, regardless of what technique you do, whether it's acrylic pouring or drawing or oil painting or watercolor or whatever. So I just want to say welcome everybody who's joining me tonight. We've got a packed house, which is awesome. Hi, Sharon and Donna. JC is here. Linda is here. Hey, Susan, Pat. This is great. So we've got tons of members, which is really great. We've got new members. We've got my older members. All kinds of people are here. Fantastic. So see, I'm just scrolling through. Hey, Robin has joined us. So this is going to be cool. All right, so behind me are a couple of the funnel pours we've done. The one right here was the walkthrough demo. The other two dried really nice. I shared one of them on my Facebook page. Maybe you saw that one. You could always check it out if you go over to Brad Caston Acrylic Pouring. And so Carla has joined us and Donna has joined us. Awesome. So anyway, so tonight I'm going to be talking about two important things. They're both kind of related together. I'm not going to do any painting tonight, but these are very important things. But before I get started, I want to just remind you that, sorry, I'm just getting something set up here. Excuse me. Distracted. So I just want to remind you that the pouring studio, as I'm sure you know by now, is open and the clock is ticking. I'm going to be shutting down the membership website page, or I'm not going to be accepting any more members after midnight Saturday. So we've got Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday. And then after that, you cannot join the membership until I reopen it again in the future. And a couple of people have already contacted me personally about, and we've worked out like a little extension for them, but that's a one-on-one type of thing. So unless you have a very specific case, after midnight Saturday, the membership will be closed, and you're going to miss out on all of our fun that we have every month, plus a boatload of fantastic bonuses that are only available right now at this particular time. Once they're gone, they are probably gone forever because they are really, really valuable. Anyway, so I want to just throw the, I'm going to throw the link down in the chat in case you want to go check it out. I'll be talking about it again tomorrow and Friday and again on Saturday. But go check it out if you want to join. I've talked all about what we do inside there. This particular day is one of the days we have every single month, the studio chat day. And before I dive into our studio chat content, I just want to briefly talk about a little bit of my background. Some people are always interested in that and asking what else I did as far as art, my art history, if I have always done just acrylic pouring or any other things. And I started doing drawing when I was really little. I had kind of a knack for it. I wasn't fantastic, but I enjoyed it. I studied art in high school and then in college. I studied illustration, graphic design. I also expanded and started working with ceramics, which I love. Ceramics are really fun. So I've done a wide range of different um, art techniques and styles. Um, for years and years, I studied and worked in representational art, which is kind of classically trained techniques, landscape painting, plein air painting, which is painting on location, portraiture. I've done that with oils specifically, but drawing as well, charcoal, pastel. I've done lots and lots of still life and other illustration types of work. I did watercolor and gouache for a little while, doing kind of fantasy illustration. So, fun stuff, kind of like children's book type illustration for a while, which was really fun. Um, but uh, but I've done a lot of different things. I worked with oils predominantly. That was my medium of choice, oils, and then, of course, charcoal drawing and things. But after a while, I was working with that for so long, I got really burnt out on doing representational art. So I just stopped altogether for a while, actually. I think I stopped doing any kind of art for about 5 years. And in that time, I started a different business, which was a woodworking business. And I've always been very good with woodworking. My dad is a woodworker. He's had wood businesses in the past. So we started our own wood business. We created custom-made artist easels and artist furniture. And so that was completely different, related somewhat, but totally different than the art I'd been doing up till then. But I've always been very good with design, like industrial design, engineering types of things. I'm pretty handy with woodworking and other types of things. So we worked on that business for quite a while. We had a partnership with a factory that was, they were located in Huntington Beach, California, but they had a factory over in China. So they took over manufacturing all the products. I had an exclusive deal with Blick.com. I designed an entire series of easels for them, actually, and they sold those for quite a while. And then we kind of sold what we were doing to our partners who had the factory. And then I just started working with just doing design specifically. So I designed lots of different artist equipment, artist easels. I came out with a whole line of plein air easels, which are really cool. So if you've seen anything with Sienna plein air, those are small pochade boxes that you can open up in the field, paint in your pochade box. I designed that entire line of products, and not too long ago, a couple of years ago, my partners, who I designed everything, my partners manufactured everything. We sold that company to Jack Richardson, who's a great big art retailer and art producer as well. So I kind of got out of the design industry, but I had a hankering to continue doing something creative, something artistic. And so I started working with abstracts, and I started with abstract watercolor. And then I started working with abstract acrylics. And I had never done acrylics actually before, working in them with abstracts. And then after a few years of just doing other types of abstract art, I kind of discovered fluid art, acrylic pouring. And that kind of then took over my entire life because I was totally obsessed, like many of you are. I just love it. I love the techniques. I love the surprises. I love not knowing what's going to happen. I just love everything about it. So that's a little bit of my history of, what I did before I started acrylic pouring. I've done lots of different things. I studied so a lot of color theory, a lot of composition. I studied other types of abstracts, principles of design. So I'm bringing all that kind of into my acrylic pouring approach, and I'm so happy I can share it with you. So, all right, I'm going to stop chatting about me, and let's chat about some very important acrylic pouring topics that you can utilize for all of your different painting. And as I'm going along here, if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. I'm just going to check and see if there's anything I missed. All right, here. Nope, I don't think so. So lots of chatting going on, which is great. So, all right. So these two topics, what are they? Well, the first one is preparation. And there's a few different types of preparation, but I'm going to talk about one specifically, preparation for your acrylic pouring. And in order to do that, I'd like to use a tool that I created called my Acrylic Pouring Journal. And I think it's very important to kind of record and kind of decide what you're going to be doing with all of your different paintings. So I'm going to share my screen and bring up what the journal looks like. And you can get this journal for free on my website, but it's also in the download section of the Acrylic Pouring Extravaganza. So let me share my screen here quick, and I'll show you what this looks like. And here we go. It is right. Where did it? Here we go. Okay. So here is the acrylic pouring journal. And I keep these, I'm on the little picture on the bottom. I keep them in separate sheets in a clipboard so I can have access to them while I'm painting, while I'm preparing my paints, while I'm deciding what kind of color scheme or color palette I'm creating for any particular painting. And then after I'm done filling one of these out, I'll put holes in the side with a hole punch and then put it into a binder. And so I have a record of it. I keep it in a clipboard because accidents can happen. And so you could wreck a whole journal if you had that laying out and a whole thing of paint fell over on it. So this is a very convenient way, though. It's just a little clipboard and the individual sheets that I later put into in a notebook. So let's take a look at what the journal is. And up at the top here, I have a date. That's pretty standard. And then I have this intention for painting. And most of the time, I just leave that blank at the beginning. And I usually fill one of these out anytime I'm doing a painting or like a study or trying something new. I fill one of these pages out. And so right down here, I'll have, let me go over here and scroll down a little bit. Right here, I'll have the technique. So I'll put what the technique I'm going to work with in here. Canvas size, I'll usually put that down. The mixing recipe I'm going to be using. The total paint I might need for that recipe. So I'd refer to the canvas coverage cheat sheet in this case for a flip cup or a ring pour. I'll add the total amount of paint. If I want a color scheme or if I'm thinking about a color scheme, I can put that there. And then down here is where I put all my color information. So what the colors I'm going to be using are, I'll put those down, the brands of paint I'm using. And this is all important stuff to kind of keep track of. And I like to write all this stuff down every single time because you never know when you're going to come upon an amazing painting that you might want to try again in the future, but you don't remember what you put in it or what paints you use. And believe me, you won't remember all this stuff unless you write it down. And so I always write this down. Over here, I've got this layered cup order. And this is normally if I'm doing a ring pour or flip cup and layering my cup, sometimes it doesn't apply. You don't have to fill out every single one of these sections in the journal. But down at the bottom here, I'll put down my first color, my second, third, fourth, all the way up to the top. Sometimes I'll put the cup size down here if I wanted to remember that. But writing all this stuff down and thinking about it kind of gets you clear on what you're really trying to accomplish with your painting. And I was surprised when I started doing this, how much better my paintings got in general, just because I'm not consciously thinking about it, but I'm writing down the colors and I'm thinking, oh, that might not look too good, those two colors together. So you're thinking about it a little more deeply and intently with a little more, your intention's a little greater. Instead of just grabbing a bunch of stuff because we're really excited to paint and just throwing it all together. This will really help you kind of think about your painting a little deeper before you get started. Right down here, I'll have notes, any kind of special things I'm trying. Oftentimes, if I'm using a new tool or something, or a new idea I have, I'll write some notes about it. The results, this is an important one. Is it a good painting? Write it down. Is it a bad painting? That's even more important to write down. You'll learn more from your mistakes or failures or bad paintings than you will from your good ones. And if you have a bad painting, well, now you have a whole sheet here telling you what not to do again. That's incredibly important. And you can learn so much from changing something or not repeating something in the future. So if you've got lots of muddy colors, well, now you know exactly what to avoid in the future, or you can tweak it, you can change it, you can try it again. So you're really giving yourself the best shot to be successful in the long run. Recording all of your results, recording all of your colors. It doesn't take that long to do this, by the way. You get really fast with it. And if you're not used to doing it, it might be a little weird at first. You might not like it at first, but it comes very naturally after a little while. And then right down here, I have name ideas. You never know when inspiration is going to strike for names. I find naming paintings incredibly difficult. I'm not very good at it, but every now and then something will, pop in my head and a name idea will occur. So I just put that down there just in case. But then after I do start filling out most of this sheet, some kind of intention might occur to me. And I want to make this clear. This is not an intention for exactly what I want this painting to look like, but it's a broader thought than that, because I don't know what it's going to look like. And we're going to talk about that much more coming up in a minute. But the intention is just, could be, I'm just experimenting with this thing. I have no idea if it's going to work. I just want to find out. Or it could just be, I just want to have fun. I'm just, going to play around with the paints and see what happens. So the intention could be anything, really. What I would encourage you not to put down is, I want to make a perfect Dutch pour using the following colors, and get this idea in your head that now I'm going to paint a masterpiece. That is the worst thought you could possibly have as far as any type of art goes. If you sit down to create a masterpiece, I guarantee you it's not going to go very well. Hardly ever has anyone sat down and created something exactly what they dreamed of, or what they were hoping for. It just doesn't happen. We have to go into this with a much, with very, very, very few expectations, if any expectations. That's the only way you're going to be able to be loose and free and enjoy the process and get something that is decent or good. So I never ever sit down thinking, okay, this is it. I'm going to make something amazing. And that's one of the biggest problems, I think, with commissions. I don't do commissions. I don't like them. And there's a couple reasons for that. The biggest one, you have so much pressure to create something amazing and beautiful that you're almost sabotaging yourself before you even get started. It's just incredibly difficult to perform on demand as an artist. Musicians, that's a little different story, that they're paid to perform on demand. I played the trumpet for 8 years, all through high school and middle school. I hated performing on demand. So I am definitely not like a musician type of personality. But that kind of pressure is just almost like suicide. It's terrible. So it's the worst thing you can possibly do, and it'll really sabotage your results, I think. So having these high expectations. We want low expectations always. Even if you're working on a great big painting, you have this giant canvas, you're spending 2 hours creating paint. You've got to go into that painting with just the expectation of having fun and trying out your technique. And I'm going to talk a lot more about that coming up in a second. But we're still on just the journal, recording your process, recording your paints, recording your colors, figuring out your layer order ahead of time is a great idea, because instead of just throwing colors in there left and right willy-nilly, you can kind of think about it. What do I want first? What do I want in the center of my ring pour? Then you can write that down and just follow your layer order. It's very, very easy, actually, to just follow your instructions that you've given yourself instead of on the spot trying to think of what color should I put in next. That can be a little tense, and you're not really thinking clearly. You're very excited about the whole process. So thinking about that ahead of time when you're calm can be very, very beneficial. So that is a bit about our pouring journal. I try to write one of these down every time I do a painting. I use this page a lot. Sometimes if I'm doing some like research or trying out something completely new, I'll use an actual spiral notebook and write in there, just because I'll have multiple pages that I'm trying new things, new colors. So I'll use this most often, but I also use just a regular notebook as well. I also encourage you to, I'm going to flip back over here and stop sharing this for the moment. I also encourage you to get a notebook, just a regular cheap spiral notebook, just so you can write down ideas. That might be color ideas. It might be technique ideas. It might be combining a couple techniques together. It could be anything. It might be, I want to make a painting based on, some season or whatever it could be. But get a notebook, write your ideas down. It's very, very helpful. Writing down your ideas, you don't have to keep them in your head then. They're in this book for you, so you can revisit it anytime. And when you start writing your ideas down, more ideas will come. And when more ideas come, you get much more excited about your painting. And when you get more excited about your painting, you're going to be painting more. And the more painting you do, the better you're going to get. So this is all about preparing correctly. I like to write it all down. Of course, we have to mix our paints correctly. We want to get our consistencies right, all that other stuff. But it all starts with this. It all starts with this acrylic pouring journal page, or just a regular old notebook if you want to just use one of those. And then also grab just a regular notebook just for ideas. Just keep an idea notebook close by. Keep it handy, because you never know what kind of ideas will pop in your head. So I just want to check and see if there are any questions about this. And let's see here. Well, thanks for all the great questions, everybody, or great comments. I'm sorry, but hey, Nancy is here. How are you doing? And Carla likes the journal. She uses it a lot. So I'm just checking for questions. Barbara is here. Hello, Barbara. Great to see you. Chris is asking, how long do you leave your paints before you use them? I've done a great piece, but never remember the colors. You don't have to leave your paints too long. I very often mix my paints and then go right into my painting. I am terrible about kind of mixing paint ahead of time, letting it sit, and then going back to it. So I usually mix them. I'll get an idea, or I'm going to try something. I'll mix my paints up and then paint. But sometimes I'll mix them ahead of time. It all depends on the painting. It varies, but there's no set time that you should mix them up beforehand. I know some people mix them up the night before. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good idea, actually. It can get rid of a lot of air bubbles and things like that. I just never do that. So, but and then Barbara is agreeing with me. Awesome. So she's always writing down the date and every detail. Very important. Yes, it's very, very important. And I don't know how many times I've gone back and looked at my notes from before, and especially, and this brings up a really important point, especially if you get in any kind of a slump, or your paintings for some reason are just not working, and you don't know why. Like you're mixing everything correctly, you're using the colors you like or whatever, but they're just not turning out right. Well, oftentimes, if you just go back into your notes, pull out a painting from a successful pour you had, and just do that one again. It's going to be different, I guarantee you. Just do exactly what you wrote down, and it'll kind of energize you. It'll reinvigorate you, and more than I'm not 100% going to guarantee this, but oftentimes it will kind of get you out of your slump. So going back and working on something you've done previously is a great idea for kind of either getting out of a slump, or just if you don't know what to do, like if you're running out of ideas, go back to your archives and pull something out that you've done before that you liked and do it again. Oftentimes, I think everyone is on to the next thing. I need the next thing, the next technique, the next paint, the next mica powder, or the next pouring medium. And new things are great, but the old things are also really, really good. So go back and revisit your old techniques and the way you did things in the past. I think you'll find that you get a lot of joy out of what you've done in the past. And it'll always look new, because we're never going to get the same result. And that's actually one of the magical things about acrylic pouring. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. We have a very we're able to have this amazing freshness and newness every single time we do a painting. It will never really get stale, because only one of them will ever exist ever in the world. So if you think about that, that's pretty interesting, and it's pretty rare. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But so that's another great reason to write down everything you have. If you go if you go in your notes, you could pull out something you want to try again. Give it a shot. Sometimes you might want to recreate or try to reimagine an older painting. You're never going to recreate it, but you'll create a new version of a painting similar. And having your notes is fantastic. So, and there was another point I wanted to make, and that is, I think it's human nature to think that, well, as I move through time and I do more paintings, everyone should get better. But that's not really the case. Like you started, like a painting you did 2 years ago, you might love that painting, and you think, oh, but why aren't my paintings now as good as that? And there's something, it's an art theory, and it's a little hard to explain, but it happens all the time. I've witnessed it. And oftentimes when you're practicing something a lot, let's say you're doing a drawing, or you're doing pottery, or you're doing, our pour painting, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're at kind of this normal level. Your paintings all kind of look somewhat similar. They're okay, but they're not great. All these other people are better than you, that kind of thing when you're in the early stages. Then all of a sudden, you do a painting, and it's just like, wow, what happened there? It's so much better than your other paintings. And this happens a lot. You have these kind of breakthrough moments where, like, I don't know if it's your potential or everything kind of works together perfectly, and boom, it gives you this amazing thing that's showing you where you're going to be down the road. So it's kind of like a preview of where you're going. When that happens, pay attention to that. It's very important. And then you'll have to work your way up to that level again. But you kind of get a glimpse of the future. And this is kind of where your skills are taking you. And then once you get to that level again, you'll be going along and maybe it's kind of similar again. Now you're better, but now maybe, they're all kind of the same. But then another one of these paintings will pop up and it's amazing. And it's, again, giving you a glimpse of your potential and down the road. So I've seen that happen so many times, especially in drawing classes. And just to give you a little quick story, I've taken many, many life drawing classes or portrait classes. And, all of a sudden you get to know all the other students in class and they're all kind of at a certain level. But then one day, all of a sudden, they'll create some amazing life drawing or portrait. And you're like, whoa, where did that come from? And they're like, I don't know. It just all worked and it looks great. Well, the very next one they do doesn't look that good. It kind of goes back to what they were doing before. That's giving them a glimpse of the future. And so I don't know if it's, I'm not a huge believer in, destiny, all this, the really woo-woo stuff. I believe it a little bit, but I've seen it so many times, but that gives them like the motivation to continue on. And so they'll work really hard and then they'll get to that level and they'll be recreating drawings like that on a consistent basis. And I learned this from one of my art teachers, who is an incredible teacher, and he has witnessed this. I mean, he's been teaching for, I don't know, decades and decades. He's witnessed that over and over again with the students. It's something about the universe giving you a little glimpse of what is possible down the road. So I don't want to get into like a really crazy, a crazy thing here, but just think about that. But it all starts with just writing down what you're doing and keeping a journal of your paintings. So, all right. And let's see here. So if you don't think I'm nuts yet, wait till we talk about the next thing. So, yeah, let's see here. I'm just checking to see if you had any questions. And Barbara's asking about the frame on the painting over here, and she's wondering if I made that one. Yeah, another teaching idea. Yeah, making frames is difficult. You really have to have some equipment for that. Similar, making panels. Frames are a little trickier because then you have to finish them, paint them or stain them or something like that. But I could show you a simple way to make some frames if you want to, a very simple floating frame. So we'll do that down the road. That would be good. I could do a little course. All right. And Monique's got a great line, and she says, painting is like life. It comes with ups and downs. It's not a straight line. Well said, Monique. Elegantly said. Perfect. And Pat likes the glimpse of the future. Yeah, it is. It's a funny thing. It's a really funny thing. And it's happened to me several times with all different types of art. So, but yeah, take heed of that stuff. It's important. And I'm glad. Well, Susan doesn't think I'm nuts. I'm happy to hear that. Awesome. So, and then Lynn is saying, maybe we're all nuts. Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe. That's very possible. So, and then Tony thinks it'd be great to know how to make frames. Cool. All right. I can have a frame making course, a simple frame making course. Sure. I'll add it to the list. No problem. All right. So, okay. So we talked about that component, kind of preparation, recording what you're going to be doing. Now, this one is a little more esoteric, and it's kind of relates to what I just finished talking about. And I'll share another PDF for you. And this PDF is also in your download section for the acrylic pouring extravaganza. And this is all about the acrylic pouring mindset. And I'm a big believer in mindset, especially in arts. Having the proper mindset is incredibly important, because artists have to, and traditional artists, like for instance, representational painters, representational, or just artists in general, people who draw, they want to draw realistically. They have to learn how to think in a different way, and they learn how to see the world differently, and they have to teach themselves how to compact a three-dimensional world into a two-dimensional plane. And it's very difficult, and it takes a long time to kind of learn how to do that, to accurately draw or paint the world around you. You have to see things in a different way, and then you have to, and that way is not in lines, or it's using line. Normally when you're drawing, you're using lines and things, and you're representing things in a very simplistic way if you're an untrained artist. But you have to learn to see in shapes and values and edges. And it takes a while to learn that. But once you do, you're always seeing the world in a different way. You're not looking at the world the way most people see it. When we talk about negative space in acrylic pouring, well, negative space is talked about very, very often in drawing and painting as the space in between things. So we have our subjects. Let's say it's a person sitting on a chair with a dog next to them or something. And that's the subject. The negative space is everything around the subject. And that negative space is like a big shape. And the shape has edges, and it has values. And you have to learn to see and like take your subject and kind of pull it into the same focus or same plane as the negative space. It's a kind of a weird thing to think about or talk about, but you have to have the proper mindset to do so. Also, when you're painting, and especially when you're in the learning stages, you have to really have a proper mindset. Otherwise, it can be very, very overwhelming. So I would just want to talk about an acrylic pouring mindset. This is kind of how I think about acrylic pouring when I'm thinking about creating a painting. This is probably, it's not the only way to think about this, but these are my thoughts. And I kind of jotted them down, and I created this little PDF for you that you can print it out and you can use or think about. It's worth thinking about. I'll put it that way. So I'm going to share my screen again. And here we go. Oops, I got to scroll up here. All right. So did I do it? Did I share it? I guess I didn't share it. Let me share it. There we go. There it is. So here is the acrylic pouring mindset. And I'll just walk you through this. And then if you have any questions about it, I'll be happy to answer it. So right here, allow yourself the opportunity to create magic. And this is all about giving yourself the freedom and without any expectations to let the magic occur. Just let it happen. You don't have to push. You don't have to work for it. It's just going to happen. And first of all, we have to prepare for success. And I just kind of talked about this with the pouring journal is an element. But approach every painting like you're setting up an experiment, not painting a masterpiece. So what I like to think about is whenever I'm mixing my paints, coming up with a color theme, I'm creating an experiment. And this is very, very applicable to acrylic pouring, because they're all like like little science experiments for mixing stuff and ratios and different ingredients, all that stuff. So we were making little experiments. And little experiments, I mean, that's no big deal. You make hundreds of experiments, right? To get the results you're looking for. But we're not sitting down to paint a masterpiece. And again, that's why like commissions can be such a very, very hard thing to do, because now we have these massive expectations. We got to crank out an amazing painting. Well, guess what? That's incredibly hard, and very rarely is it going to happen. So, unless you're really, really good, you've done this for so long, and you're just so comfortable, this boom, everyone is going to be great. But I guarantee you, those people are not thinking about creating a masterpiece. They're just sitting down to have to do an experiment, create a painting, have some fun, and they're not worried about the end result. They're worried and focused on the process. So plan out your color palette is a great way to prepare for success. Think about the colors you're going to use. Think about the values. Pay attention to your mixing and your consistencies. So pay attention to your ratios and how much Floetrol and other pouring mediums you might be using. Make sure all your consistencies are correct for that particular technique, and also with all your other paints. Prepare your pouring surfaces. Tape the back off. Put the cup hooks on. All that stuff. Get ready, like you're going to do this really nice, cool, fun experiment. And of course, keep a record of your experiments. That's what we just talked about with the pouring journal. So we're just preparing for success is what we're doing, but we're not worried about the outcome. So we want the experiment to go as well as possible, but we don't know what the outcome is going to be yet, right? So just prepare for success. Now, next up, we want to focus on the technique, not the outcome. So we want to worry about everything we can control, what's in our control, and do it to the best of our ability. But again, we're not worried about the end result yet. That'll take care of itself down the road. So just focus on what you can control. And then, that kind of, these kind of all flow together, but like layer your cup with care. Think about the layer order of your colors, write those down. And then be present, like in your approach. So, when you're pouring your cup of paint on your canvas, do it as good as you can. Really focus on the paint puddle, focus on what the stream of paint is looking like, the height of your cup. That's what you should be focusing on, not just dumping it out just so you can get to the end result. We're really focused on just what we're doing at that particular moment. So, that goes with spreading on your base coat. Just spread it on as good as you can, and don't be thinking about things down the road like it's only a means to an end, right? And sometimes I think people get rushed because they just want to get to the fun part. They want to pull the cup off the flip cup. They want the results, and they want instant results usually. But when the results aren't good, they're very depressed and frustrated about it. Well, this is the way to kind of think about it in a different way, so that your results might be the same, but your perception of them is going to be much different. So when we're doing the technique, spreading the base coat, layering our cup, pouring our cup, pulling off our flip cup, just be focused right on those actions, not thinking about, oh, I hope this looks good, when it's done. So that's focus on the technique, not the outcome. Now, next up, this is where I think a lot of people run into problems when they're not happy with their painting, or they're never satisfied with what they've created. And I've seen this so many times with my students in class, a million different Facebook posts about, oh, I hate the result, not what I was going for, but it's a great painting, but they can't see it. And this is what's happening. So, once you've gone through those first two steps, let the paint do its job. You've prepared the paint, you've mixed it, everything's correct, as good as it can be. Now you got to let the paint do its job. We are not the only participants in this process, which is a little bit unique to this particular type of pouring. We can't control every single aspect. The paint has a very important job to do. We've got to just let it do its thing. So when you pull that cup off, or when you have this big, beautiful kind of ring pour paint puddle, or whatever it might be, let the paint do its job. And our job at that point is to release all expectations for any kind of end result. And it might be difficult to kind of understand what that means, but it's incredibly important, because you're never going to be able to predict the result. You can maybe think and get kind of close to what it might look like, but you're never ever going to know for sure. And so don't even try. Just let it happen, and then we can take it in our next step. But just release all expectations. It's a lot harder than it sounds, but give it a try. Next time you're doing a painting, and you mix your colors, you know what colors are going to be in the painting, right? But you don't know how they're going to mix together. You don't know what how the order layer is going to look. You don't know what the cells are going to look like, or if you got lacing or this or that. So don't even worry about it. Just let it happen, and let the paint surprise you. It always surprises me every single time when you're trying to have a fixed idea in your head of what you need to happen, or what you want to have happen. The paint will always disappoint you. So just let the paint do its thing. Always be surprised. That's really the most fun part of fluid art, for me anyway, because you never know exactly what's going to happen, what you're going to get. Might as well let it surprise you and have fun seeing what you can do with it. So, and then this is where the magic happens, if you let it. So if you can release those expectations of what your painting's going to look like, if you can just let the paint do its job and create something beautiful and magical, then you can get these beautiful paintings. Instead of always being like disappointed that it doesn't look just like this other painting that I wanted it to look like, because that is impossible and it's never going to happen. Your painting will always be unique, one of a kind, never to be duplicated or replicated again, unless you're making a print. So just go with that. I mean, that's a very unique aspect of acrylic pour painting. It's one of the benefits, I think, that we can't control the whole process. And we do everything we can up to a certain point. Then we have to let go of the results to a degree, and see what the paint, nature, gravity has in store for us. So, and then finally, if we can do that, then we've got to work with what we've got. So now it's time to kind of take back limited control, and the paint has given us something special and unique. Let's try to work with it and make it as good as it can be. So, and this is another, kind of esoteric thing. You've got it here, and you might not love it right away. You might really like it. You might be, it's okay. Well, do the best you can with it, regardless of what it looks like. Always try your hardest to get it to look as good as possible. So, things you can focus on, focus on your tilting, and work on your tilting to get that as good as you can get. Think about your composition when you're tilting around, and what you might want to tilt off or change or tweak or whatever, or however you might want to manipulate your composition. Do the best you can on every single painting. I always try to do the best I can, even if I don't like it initially. My expectations were, I didn't have them, but this is really bad, but try to do the best you can, always. And then good is better than perfect. So you're always shooting for good. Always aim for just a good painting. You're never, ever going to get a perfect painting. So, and the other thing with this is, there might be a little weird thing that you don't like on the painting, but other than that, you like most of it. Well, that's good. That's a good painting. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Again, we have limited control, with what we're doing. So just shoot for good. Good is better than perfect every single time, because perfect is unattainable. And then finally, there's always something to like in your painting. Even if you hate it, there's always something to like about it. And that could be the colors you used. It could be one little piece, one little tiny part. Always find something to like about every single painting. And then you can always write down all the other stuff you don't like about it. But it's always important, I think, to look at the good parts first, and then acknowledge the parts you want to improve upon in the future. And that's how you grow. Look at what you like about it. Here's what I need to improve about it. Because if you just say, I hate it, and then it's it, I scrape it, you're not going to learn much about that, because you haven't really taken the time to think about, well, what do I need to change? Is there anything to change? Or, my colors, did I write down all my colors? Do I know how I layered the cup? How can I improve this painting instead of just scraping it immediately and then being super frustrated about it? So I think this is how I think about my acrylic pour painting. And I've, let's see here. So I've printed that out, or this is available for you. I'd recommend printing it out and just thinking about it. You don't have to think you don't have to agree with me on all these different points. This might be way over, like you might be thinking, my God, there's way too much to think about. It doesn't need to be that complicated. You can keep it simple. But the most important thing is, I think, go into it with a sense of creativity, and the sense that you're going to be surprised every single time. Limit those expectations, and then do your best with what you got. And I think those are the most important things to think about, and with your acrylic pouring mindset. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm just going to see if you have any questions. And Chris is saying, Brad, where is this in the membership? It's going up on the wall, getting into the mindset. That's awesome, Chris. Yeah, I didn't put it in the membership yet. It's in the Acrylic Pour and Extravaganza downloads, but it'll be in there tonight. I'll put it up in there. So it'll be in the PDF resource section inside the pouring studio. So, all right. So I'm just checking for questions. If you have any, or if you do have any, put them in now. I have to pop off here in about 4 minutes or so, and then we're going to do our members only Q&A tonight for our membership. So, but this is important stuff. I think not very many people talk about this, but to me, it's very important. I'm always thinking about it. And if you can think about things in a different way, I think you can oftentimes really improve your results. And Lynn is saying she's always thinking 3 steps ahead. It's just so impatient. Yeah, that's patience is another thing. I should have put it in there, but I didn't. Have some patience. Take your time. You don't have to rush. It'll all happen. So all right, cool. All right, so I'm seeing all of the great comments. Thanks, everyone. But cool. Any last questions? And and Pamela's asking, how does one sign an acrylic pour? And then I guess the best answer to that is however one wants, really, Pamela. You can sign it any way you want. There's no rules or laws about signing your work. So you could sign it on the front, you could sign it on the side, you could sign it on the back. You could use a brush, a pen, a marker, anything you want, really. Everyone does it differently a little bit. So, all right. Cool. I don't see any questions at the moment. So thanks for listening to me ramble on about preparation and mindset for almost an hour. I know that's probably a lot, but one more time, I'm going to, if you haven't signed up for the Acrylic Point Extravaganza, by the way, and you want to get these resources, these downloads, I'll throw that in the comments, and you can sign in for that. And you can pick up these PDFs, and there's a bunch of other very valuable resources in there you can get. So, let's see here. Carla's saying, if I hadn't been rushing, I would have dropped that paper towel roll right into my wet painting. Yes. Well, there's always happy mistakes too, happy accidents. So, all right. Well, thanks, Susan. I appreciate that. Susan thought it was excellent. I'm very happy. That's awesome. Okay, everyone. Well, thanks so much for joining me. Tomorrow, we're going to have our own Q&A. So if you have any questions that you might want to ask me, I'll be answering questions all session long. And let me throw the my email up there. So you could send any kind of emails or questions you have to Brad at pouringstudio.com. And I'll be sure to gather them up and I'll answer them tomorrow. So, all right. Well, thanks so much, everyone. I am going to jump off and I will see all my members over on the members only Q&A in just a minute. So thank you, everyone. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.